PKN 49. How you guys doing?
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to all. Did you guys do anything fun?
Oh, absolutely. I slept straight through it, and my girlfriend woke me up to kiss me New Year, and I think it was like 12:30 in the morning or something. And I was like, Happy New Year. Good night. I'm turning my dad in that regard. I remember as a kid, me and my mom and my sister would stay up, to watch the ball drop, watch the festivities, whatever Dick Clark or whoever was on TV was doing. And mom would get like a small bottle of champagne. Even as kids, we'd have a glass, and we'd always be like, Daddy, stay up with us. The ball's gonna drop. Because in Atlanta, we drop the peach. We've got a big giant peach that we drop. You
guys keep going back to that well.
It's an acorn here in the city.
It's what we do.
The acorns.
You're not gonna pick on the acorn? Okay, all right.
I've never heard about if everything they talked about in North Carolina was acorn related. I'd be like, settle down with the acorns.
Touche. Yeah, he's got you there, Kyle.
We have
the Peach Bowl, the Peach Extravagant. I bet you guys have a World
Peach Water Tower.
You have like a Peach Fair, the World Peach Fair.
We have a peach. Everything you can put after that. If you use everything, peach everything. We have peach Coke here. It's delicious.
Peaches are good. I shouldn't rip on
thinking peach.
And Georgia peach is the best in the world.
I don't know. I've heard that Florida peaches and Alabama peaches are where it's at.
Oh yeah, I think it might be New Zealand peaches actually, but I think it's
no. Woody, back me up here. It's Alabama, actually, specifically Tuscaloosa, Alabama peaches.
Yeah, exactly, dude. Even the South Carolinians are like Georgia peaches are overrated.
It's Talladega where they have the good ones. They keep them on these trees just on the other side of the chain link so we can look at them every day. They glisten with dew. But yeah, my dad would never take part in New Year's. He's like, who fucking cares? Tomorrow's another day. It's what's different this year? What's going to be different in 1998, guys? Well,
he's got work tomorrow.
Yeah, he's going to like check on the chickens in the morning or some shit. So he never cared, and now I don't care. I couldn't care less. I might watch it because this is morbid to say, kind of awful to say, but I always wondered why, if you were a terrorist group, like, man, that's the time. Like, not only do you have this big global timer that everybody's looking at and like counting down for you and stuff, like all the eyes are on these points around the world where it's celebrated, huge crowds and everything, festivities, and it seems to be by and large a Western thing. I don't see big crowds of Arabs, celebrating it, but that's probably because the Israelis keep them dispersed these days.
Mm-hmm. And the Chinese, they have a whole different time. So, of course, they're not going to be doing it.
Yeah, they're on a whole different calendar over there. Yeah.
I never thought of it as a Western thing, so much so that when Kyle said it, I didn't even process it correctly. I'm like, that fool, it's a big deal in Paris, as it says.
Yes.
Paris, the East.
The Eastern Dominion.
They just don't show you like the African celebrations. Maybe they're not big on it there. Maybe there's an African New Year.
Probably they don't know it's a new year. They don't know what year is there. They can't keep. I always go back to that because it's so racist and awful. That episode from The West Wing when they explain why we will not send our AIDS drugs to those African countries for free. They make the drug companies sit across the table from the president of the impoverished African nation and look him in the eye and tell him why they won't give him the drug. And they're like, sir, our drugs need to be taken every 4 hours around the clock. And the African king looks down in shame. And like all of a sudden, all like Toby Ziegler and all of the White House Jews are like, what's the problem? Why can't we just give him all the free stuff? And they're like, Africans can't read time. And the king's like, yes, it is true. My people cannot read time. And it's this real sad moment where we all just put our hands up and go, well, guess they'll all die.
Well, that's not good because a lot of our treatments are time contingent.
That's
time
exactly
such a big part of it. Yeah,
like you get multiple pills per day, like on the hour or something.
I
know Africa's a fucking continent, and there's plenty of people there with watches and shit. But in his make believe impoverished Congolese country,
are there though? Are they wearing watches in Africa? I don't know.
South Africa.
They have iPhones, so
do they have like Georgia 2024 college football champion commemorative watches?
Those are. Dude, I mean, that's a reality that I would move to. That's the real reality. Did you watch any of the games yesterday?
I watched all of them. Yeah, I watched the entire Alabama Michigan game, and
it's a good game.
My God, they looked so much. Both of them looked so much worse than Texas and Washington later in the night, especially Washington. Like everybody's been kind of pooping on Washington, like, oh, they're like the worst of the four remaining, even if they're the second seed. Their quarterback was incredible. They all looked on point. They really gave it to Texas towards the end of it.
Let me ask you this, Taylor. Do you feel like you can tell the difference? An analogy. I watch a lot of MMA. In grappling, I feel like I can tell who's good and who's bad. But striking, if you take a medium striker and put him against a terrible striker, I'm like, that medium guy striker is pretty good, isn't he? Yeah. Like, he looks really good. So
that's true.
If you take Alabama and who they lose to, Michigan, I think. Yeah. And they both look bad, or do they both have good defenses? Like
they like, I know what you mean, but they looked bad. There were so many unforced errors from Alabama and Michigan that like there were the commentators multiple times throughout it were like, man, Alabama doing everything they can to gift this game to Michigan. And then 8 minutes later, it'd be like, Michigan refuses to take the gift from Alabama and offers one of their own. Like,
it wasn't like Michigan's hard count is drawing these guys offside.
Both teams, like, there were times during that game that I'm like, dude, if Mizzou was in this game playing well, it would be a fucking real game. But then again, that's because I knew Alabama and Michigan are playing badly. They're both better teams than Mizzou. Mizzou would have to be playing decently well to like the Alabama center. I don't know if the Alabama center is going to be allowed in the state of Alabama again. Like 1 out of 4 snaps was so incredibly low that the Alabama quarterback was having to like dip over to pick it up, and it was throwing him off. They were missed snaps. The Michigan special teams guys, the Alabama center and the Michigan special teams guys all had money on the other team because every Michigan kicker fucking just misses. Like perfect kick return opportunity for the Michigan special teams. The guy catches it like I would, like just misses it, drops it, almost gets a safety, gets it at the 1. Like, it was a comedy of errors game.
You know, a fun statistic, the Georgia's punter for the year, you know, all the games they played this year. Do you know what the total return yards against him are?
Zero.
It's like negative something.
Really?
For the year. I'm so glad they're opening the thing up next year. So that one loss. First of all, when Bama lost to Texas early in the year, it shouldn't have mattered that they beat Georgia. If you knock Georgia out if you want, but I don't think that means Alabama goes in. Like, if Georgia it doesn't go in, then why does Alabama go in? Because they beat Georgia. You know what I mean? Like, oh, because Georgia was so good. Oh, they're not anymore? Would they kill a couple Georgia players? Like, what happened?
4 is the wrong number. It's the wrong number.
4 is the wrong number.
It's better than the old system where like the media just chooses the team, and then like the coaches choose another team, and like there's no official champion. Yeah. That's stupid. This is just stupid.
Yeah.
And what's even better, I'm really glad that FSU decided to be absolute scumbags and like just
take their ball and go home. We're not going to play.
We're going to take our ball and go home.
Yeah, they put their practice squad in there.
What I would do if I had if whoever has the power to do this, they should. Oh, we noticed that you only sent 42% of your starting team, so we're only going to actually give you 42% of the money that your team gets for playing in the Orange Bowl, because it's millions of dollars. Like, that's why you go to a bowl. Going to a bowl game means you get a big chunk of money. I don't know if it's just show money. If there's any win money to bring it into MMA terms, like if you win the Orange Bowl, do you get a bonus? I don't know about that, but they definitely get a huge amount of money just for qualifying for the thing. 25, 2, yeah, 5. It was real frustrating. I don't care who won or lost. It looked like a boring game from the outside looking in. I was watching TV or something else, I think.
I think you guys scored. Were you up 43-0 by halftime?
Yeah. Dude, then Georgia started putting in players who had like not seen the field the entire year, and the starters were on Instagram Live. They weren't even eating wings. They were Instagram living their experience on the. It's like, oh, all 5 of these guys are sitting out right now, and
that's just nothing. Like, you should have seen what Florida State did. They did that in the first quarter.
They did, and that was very lame of them. Yeah, what they would have done, like if they would have by some miracle, beaten Georgia. I don't think a full FSU team is going to beat a full Georgia team because Georgia played pretty hard that first half and got 50 points. And then Georgia was like, okay, we don't care anymore either. Throw in the practice guys. Throw in the guys with the cleanest cleats and uniforms you've ever seen in the last game of a year. If Florida State had had a close game with Georgia, then the narrative would be like, look at how absurd it is that Florida was left out. Man, it's almost as though FSU and Georgia was the real championship here. Look at Georgia. Look at FSU. They were incredible. But they got
if the score had been 50-48 or something, we'd have all been like, man, what the fuck was that boring game with all the errors in the Rose Bowl? Like, you know.
Yeah, 100%.
And it looked to me like that's what Georgia showed up to do. I read somewhere, and I don't know what they're basing this on, probably just someone's fucking opinion, but it was like Georgia came out to embarrass FSU. Like clearly, like that's one thing I like about our coach. He piles it on. Like he really piles it on.
Dude, if he would have left the starters in, he could have hit 100.
Yeah, he could have scored a couple more times for sure. It was that's pretty cool. I look forward to next year having the bigger field and not worrying if you drop a game in the third week to an Auburn or somebody like that, like a tough top 10 opponent. Well. Let's not play the next 10 weeks because we just lost one. I don't know. I like that better.
That's pretty lame. And then it's college, so I guess like that's what makes it fun. Anything can happen. Like you could tell how fucking nervous so many Michigan and Alabama players were, where you're like, this really isn't like the pros. Like this snapper for Alabama probably is so fucking nervous because he's a 21-year-old playing in the Rose Bowl that he just can't fucking snap the ball. And all these kickers for Michigan who had been hitting dingers all season, and these like specialist return guys, they just fumbling, dropping, like big stage, nerve-wracking. So I'm sure that Washington will be the underdog against Michigan, and so I don't really care. But I'm gonna watch it. I'll pull for the underdog. Then.
Yeah, I don't know how they'll do that. You know, figure out that line.
If the same team shows up in the championship game, Washington's going to win. Because they like that, their quarterback looked really good. It was fun to watch. I had never spent like a whole day in my life before just being like, I'm just gonna watch football all day. I watched football for like 12 hours yesterday. Like the first game started at 11, and I was just like, I just keep it rolling. Oh, these are pretty entertaining. These are pretty good.
MMA has days like that. There's days where they have the early prelims at 4:30 p.m. and you'll sit down at 4:30 p.m. and watch two guys who. God, they just stumbled in from an alley somewhere.
Is that June? Like way out there?
I believe so. Like maybe the end of June. But we've got another event soon, obviously. Like look, the events leading up to 300, what it looks like is as they were trying to make 300 big, they're like, what? All right, well, you don't fit in 300. Well, you're a great fight, though. Let's put you 290, 298, 299. Like those are both really strong.
The Strickland card looks like one of the shittiest cards I can recall. Outside of Strickland. No,
I'll need to look at it.
Yeah, so I'm interested in Strickland. Even he's morphed to a figure everyone loves to hate because what? No, you have not been on the internet lately. He is getting shit on constantly.
You don't understand, Kyle. There's 3 threads on a subreddit. Like hate him. Everyone in the world.
Dude, every fucking person has negative things to say about Strickland. He can't find a friend on the internet for whatever that's worth.
Dude, he has a ton of friends
I'm here,
on
Strickland. I can see.
All right, I read the internet. You stand alone with Strickland.
Is the Reddit?
What he did is he talked tons of trash about people's like wives. I was going to say kids, but I think I'm making that up. About people's wives, about people's families, and all this. And then some guy talked about his next opponent, talked shit about his dad because he used to hit him as a kid. And now he's like, you really should talk about people's families. He's bawling on Theo Von's podcast, tears. You can't
what
get
was he crying about, Woody?
He's crying about his parents hitting him because he's a bitch, unlike me.
Was he crying about?
Man, I hold my chin high. I don't give a fuck.
Is that really how you put it?
Yeah, we don't have professional fighters' parents.
Yeah,
he was getting teed up. He was like just getting juiced up.
He was crying about his abusive alcoholic father who beat him like for years and years, and would come in his room and beat him with his fist. You know, like
who.
I've seen you cry on the internet over the dead dog. We didn't go boo-hoo. We knew you were feeling
that's
emotions.
Serious. I don't think it's cool to make fun of people's dogs, okay?
I really appreciated look, what he did, he's definitely a hypocrite, you know, because he says bad things about people all the time. You can't be in a glass house if you're going to be the number one shit talker on the internet.
It's true.
But I guarantee his reaction when people give him shit is like, yeah, I cried like a bitch, man. I'm going to start taking it up the ass, too. You saw my Tesla, right? Like, that's what he's going to say. That's what he said when he made fun of his Tesla.
It'd be a good look. It's so far.
That's what he already said it. He said it before that audio came out. A whole lot
of people shouldn't make fun of people's families. That's what he's saying now.
Well, no, you always do this. He says they shouldn't talk about child abuse and people's children. He
literally said families. I didn't change it.
He may have said the word families. I didn't hear him say that. It's in text. I don't know. I don't have the fucking meme in front of me. But what he did as far as going after people's families, obviously, he gave Ian Gary a hard time because his wife's like, there's like a cucking him meme and controlling him meme, that whole thing. That's not going anywhere.
Sugar Sean O'Malley, he and his wife seem to have an open marriage. So
yeah, he watches his wife get fucked by other men. So
and he fucks other women. It's an open marriage. Tell the whole story. And he's like raising your hand. Who here's fuck Sugar Sean's wife? Like in front of a crowd.
Did he?
So
that's. Are you sure? Because I saw Colby say, "Who's fucked Ian Gary's wife?" at the last.
Well, now I'm
press
not
conference.
sure anymore. So I might have fucked that up. Yeah. But in any case, he definitely made fun of Sugar Sean O'Malley's.
Take a point from Woody, Zach.
All right. No, I'm keeping track.
No, I agree.
I have no knowledge of it.
I agree with you in essence that what he's doing is hypocritical. However, I think
that what the fuck? Kyle lost a point earlier on the family thing.
I started with more points than you, though. It's a D&D thing. My character.
All right, it's zeros now.
Yeah.
Love.
It's definitely hypocritical. But I think that him crying about his dad abusing him is one of the few genuine moments that we've ever gotten from him. And so that's why I feel a certain way about that. Because it's like, this is real. He's not going on the Theo Vaughn podcast and sobbing and like to get more views or to get more like pay-per-views or something. Like a thing just happened and he got emotionally caught up. The other stuff he does is to promote fights. Like when he attacked Duplessis at the fight the other day, that wasn't real. Like I wouldn't say it normally, but like just for the sake of this conversation, like when I see someone out there doing a character or having a bit, kind of way the way I used to with FPS Russia, I'm like, oh, look at that thing. He attacked him. That's a real fight right there. That's how hard he is. He attacked him in a crowd. And I'm in my head, I'm like, yeah, everybody believed that because that makes a better story.
It was real. Yeah. Here's why I think it was real. Duplessis, is that how you say his name? DDP?
Yeah.
He was like, yeah, I told him, like, come fight me, you bitch. You won't do it. I deserve what I got.
They planned it before. They had set it up like before the whole thing started.
Wait, get out. Both of them planned it?
I thought he had beef with Diamond Dallas Page.
You can't have one professional athlete doesn't attack another professional athlete 6 feet between them and everybody walks away without a scratch unless we're doing some WWE promotion. As soon as the camera is on us, he told the children to move out of the way. He had warned Gilbert Burns before, like an hour or two before, like, hey,
oh shit,
you guys are sitting behind me tonight, so might be some stuff going down. Might be some stuff going down. I'll give you the heads up before anything happens, though. And Gilbert Burns is like, yes, he told me, the things could go down. Gilbert doesn't know he's blowing his spot. He told me, something go down. You'll be ready. I let you know. And sure enough, something go down. He tells me, Chica's wrong.
Yeah.
Now he's fake. I don't know.
Now he's a promoter. That's what I want. They're all fake, Woody. Every one of them.
Why do you just like a
genuine guy who's up there like, I'm here to fight.
I liked him until this thing where he was like, bitch made.
He didn't like
because he's supposed to be this like, I don't know, dish it out trash talker type guy. And now there should be guidelines around this. We shouldn't talk about family. It's like, dude, you talk about family every fucking time you hit the mic.
And is it just he's just doing this to Duplessis, whatever you said his name was?
So what happened was Duplessis and Sean Strickland are about to fight, and so in the trash talk for that fight, Duplessis made fun of the fact that Sean had been abused as a child at the press conference.
Uh-huh.
What did he say exactly? That he was gonna
he's gonna
think of his dad when he takes the beating or something. Do you remember?
It's like something about when your dad used to come in your room at night, that terror you would feel, how little you would feel when he'd abuse you. Like he's being pretty mean about it. But
also, I don't like Strickland's fighting.
Oh,
he's a defense first point fighter, and he's really hard to hit, but it's not the kind of fight I like to watch. Like, he doesn't have any grappling, and his striking is defense first. It's really hard to hurt him.
Okay.
I'm not saying
he's a
bad fighter. I'm just saying he's not a entertaining fighter.
White Americans who know how to use a microphone are my favorite fighters in the world. Followed closely by white Australians, Canadians, and Englishmen who know how to use a microphone as well.
Yeah, you just need someone on the mic.
I'm not
right.
on the white thing, but I'm big
and
on
like I've got names in my head. I'm not just like Volkanovski, Bisping, fucking George St. Pierre. Like, I'm looking at you guys.
Conor McGregor.
You're the goats. Yeah, Ireland's. I hate Ireland though. So
well, it does seem like this was a bad move for Strickland. Maybe you can convince me otherwise, Kyle, because like it undoes.
Was way up today. His Google Trends were like huge a few months ago when he first had that thing, and then they've been bowing out for a while.
I don't think
his Google Trends.
Trends. Oh, I'm sorry.
You don't want to. He doesn't want to change the lore surrounding himself. So you wouldn't want that kind of emotional response, I would guess.
It came across as weak.
I believe it.
Please don't talk about my family. It's a sensitive spot for me. I'm paraphrasing on this.
I agree.
I just think it doesn't seem consistent with the character I know him as, and I don't know much.
I don't think it's part of the.
He's very.
See, that's what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, like, up until now, you've gotten kind of his like wild, silly, fun guy, and then like somebody said something that genuinely hurt his feelings. That's real, and now you're getting like the real him that cries when you talk about like him being abused as a child. I don't know. I didn't get abused as a child. I bet I cry too if it did, though. That sounds awful.
If a lot of people are, I know like Reddit, I guess what he's saying, they don't like it. Is anyone coming out and being like, oh, this is an interesting new side of Strickland? I kind of hope we see a little more sincerity, not just the character.
Well, there's not. It's kind of hard to defend him because of the glass house situation. Like that. Yeah. That's kind of where people are. I would say. The majority of people are like, fucking glass houses, bro. What do you mean you can't say that now? Because that's the problem that I have with it, is that he would say that anything's off limits after he's kind of went after everything. And he said pretty horrific things. And I like his horrific things. He said something about there was a UFC fighter who got hit by a bus. Like he was walking down the street and got hit by a bus and killed, I think. And Sean Strickland's like, I heard about this. And I was like, couldn't dodge a bus? What are you doing in the UFC then? Not going to be much of a fighter.
See, that's funny. Like, that's good. But like, you can, if you're going to be bombastic like that and have that be part of your character, you can't cry foul when someone responds in kind.
Yeah.
Even if it is sincere. And if it's sincere, it's almost different than crying foul, but because he's like not pretending to, it does look like from the quote that he's like, you got to not talk about this stuff. Leave that stuff out of your points. Sure. And it's like, come on, you do it.
There's an MMA fighter who was hot, and I think she got killed in some way. I don't know how, but she wasn't a UFC level fighter, and everyone is mourning her in the same way that like everyone holds a door for really hot chicks, even though they're 27 feet away. They're giving her like extra mourning.
Fully closed.
Yeah. Anyway, he's like, she wasn't even that good. You guys are only giving a shit because she was hot. And to be honest, I like that. But it's the glass house thing that's not as good. And Kyle was like, oh, this is a genuine moment. Heck, I believe the other side was genuine too. It just he's a genuine hypocrite who can dish it out and not take it.
Yeah, you gotta, if you're gonna make your bones on the fight promotion part of it, you gotta, take your licks in that same way and see it through the same lens that you would see yourself, where I'm sure in his own head, he's like, I don't give a shit about this guy getting hit by a bus. That sucks. He got hit by a bus. That's sad. The whole life taken away. But, oh, this fucking idiot couldn't avoid a bus, huh? Like, I'm sure this dude who's fighting is also like, man, it seems like Strickland got pieced up as a kid, beaten up constantly by abusive parents. That's no good. But
I like to play.
I'm a professional fighter. Here we go. Like, this is like half of the game in professional fighting is building up a fan base and being combative. Well, not just physically combative, verbally combative.
The main thing is telling a story about why we are fighting, because I do not care about punches and kicks. I don't, not even a little. I'll say YouTube constantly putting on these free MMA events of every level of expertise. There's like backyard shit. I'll see live streams of where they've got like just a crowd of people hollering around it, and then I'll see like one, and the Amazon like owned shit, and it's like these guys are one notch below UFC. Some of them are better, I'm probably, and it'll be like, I don't care. You don't have the polish. You don't have the story. When I want to see Duplessis and Strickland fight because Duplessis trying to be the real African champion because he's from South Africa. He's this big white dude who's just was shitting on the former black African champion. But I love that guy, and I like Strickland too because he's like an American redneck who likes guns and talks shit. It's perfect. He's like our guy. He really is. He's as close to our guy as you're ever going to see, and it kind of sucks that they even have to fight each other and one of them has to win because then one of them's going to have to fight Izzy. Izzy's coming right back to fight whoever wins this fight.
They should not do it against Strickland again because that fight was not very exciting. And it was just Strickland. Like Strickland controlled the whole thing. At no point was I was watching with buddies on like a bachelor party, and they're all way more into it than me. And they're like, "Oh, Strickland's beating the shit out of him." I'm like, "Yeah, I guess."
That was Thanos getting beat up. Nobody in my household was sad.
No one was sad. Everyone was excited to see the underdog win. But
that dog fucker.
I don't like it. It's a defense first point fighter against a counter striker. I'm like, this is leading to what I consider the most boring style matchup you can
Don't do that again then. Like, what's the other guy? Is the African guy not defensive, very aggressive?
He's a counter striker, so he wants you to throw and then he'll dodge it and come back over the
DDP.
All three of these guys?
I'm sorry. I was counting the African guy as the Nigerian guy. Israel
DDP to get to where he is to earn this shot took out Robert Whitaker. This I think he's Kiwi or Australian. He was like the guy.
He's one of them.
He's one of those guys where in multiple divisions you're like, all right, this guy's the second best in the world. Max Holloway is that guy for 145. All right, so you're the second best in the world. You cannot beat the champion because you fought him 3 times now and lost. But no one can touch you. Like no one can beat Max Holloway. They haven't yet. Not in his weight class, obviously. He stepped up to 155 and lost one. Lots of cool fights coming up. Gaethje's gonna fight Islam.
Yes.
I'm sure that they'll put that together. I thought Gaethje gave. I thought it was
Khabib. Official. Am I crazy? I might be crazy. I also think they're fighting.
It's just it's all points are leading there. It feels like. And I'm interested to see what Gaethje will look like. I know against Khabib. I've heard Khabib talking about this the other day. How he had been in Abu Dhabi or wherever they fought that time on Yaz Island. He's like, I'd been there for months, getting ready, getting used to that climate and that time zone. He's like, he show up 1 week, not enough. I tell him 1 week, we get 80% of Justin Gaethje, no problem. That's horse shit. I hate that because I know that Khabib spent his time in like most fabulous like junior castle that those people would give him, and then Justin Gaethje shows up on a Delta flight with a mask on, and they usher him into a Holiday Inn somewhere to get ready.
Gaethje's fun. So Gaethje, I like. He's a real honest fighter. His coach is one of the coolest guys in all of MMA, and he hits fucking hard.
Hardest hitting 155er.
He has a wrestling background. And he never uses it. I guess he's hard to take down, probably because of his wrestling background. But all he does is throw punches and kicks at 120%. That's all he. I have seen his own coach be like, "Bro, are you trying to kill him? Back off.
Take 10% off. You're trying to kill him.
You're hitting this guy too hard." It was Tony Ferguson fight I'm talking about. Maybe you remember.
Yeah.
And,
I watched it. Yeah.
But the Ferguson fight. It was during COVID, so there were no crowds, and you could just hear the punches and kicks land in a way that felt like
gross,
like unkind almost. Like, bro, you're already winning this fight. Do you have to hit him that hard? And then when his coach was like, back it off a little bit, you're hitting him too hard. It was like, good God.
Poor
so I like watching Gaethje fight. I don't think he's gonna beat Islam Makhachev, or do I think he'll be a favorite? But
big dog. I would guess he's going to be like a 275, like 2 3/4 to 1, like dog. or maybe even a 3-1 dog. But my money's on Justin Gaethje because he is the hardest hitting 155er in the world. He's not Volkanovski. He's not 3 feet tall. He's a big boy. He does have that defensive wrestling. We haven't seen. I don't remember the last time we saw Islam's wrestling really get tested. I mean, he takes everybody down, obviously. But
he's like the modern Khabib now, right? Like, whenever he wants to take a guy down and hold him there, he does. But now he's going to go against a guy who's really defensive wrestling and dynamite in his hands. How many dangerous takedowns are you going to attempt on this guy?
I want to see him catch him. I want to see. Why do you never see anybody like throw a knee like
the Masvidal knee, right? Like he did on Ben Askren.
Yeah, but defensively almost. Like when they come in for that shot, why aren't they just like pow, like turning their hips and like hitting them with that knee? And I don't know. I don't know. No one's ever shot on me. I'm certainly not a fucking professional athlete, so I bet it's harder than I imagined. But just press the B button. No, fast though. Really fast.
You got to time it right, you noob.
Wait till he flashes.
It's all or nothing, though, right?
Lots of good fights coming up, though. I'm really looking forward to 2024. Connor's coming back. Connor's going to beat Chandler. Connor's going to beat Chandler, and then they're going to give him a fucking title shot at whatever weight he wants. At 170, whoever it's easiest at. Wherever it's easiest for him to fight a champion, it's where he'll go. If Leon Edwards is still there, he might go fight somebody like Leon Edwards. If Sean Strickland was still there, that is the fight. That is the fight.
To watch.
Conor McGregor, Sean Strickland. I mean, you'd pick him, but you also wouldn't be like, he's going to destroy Conor. It's like, no, Conor's going to hang around in here. He's going to get a couple of chances to land that big left, and maybe he puts Strickland on his ass and wins around that way.
I don't even know. So I'm sorry to cut you off. Strickland has the Philly shell defense. If you guys aren't familiar with it, like I'm getting my left and right fucked up, but he hides his chin behind his shoulder, and then he's got his big hand, back here, and he just parries, but he doesn't have to keep this hand to protect his face all the whole time because he's got his shoulder there. And he parries this guy and comes over the top with the left.
Yeah.
But when the other guy's a southpaw, does that just fucking break your shell and not work anymore?
I feel like they all just switch stances at this point? You know what I mean? Like
really shell both ways?
Why not? Why can't you fight in both stances? So yeah, I look forward to seeing Conor. I always do. He's the biggest draw in the sport. He still is. I think he's got at least one more run in him. Not run of wins, mind you, but like, dude, if they did one of those big press tours and they got him out there, there's the big fucking like the fancy robe, and he's dancing around talking about how his legs are made of titanium, like fucking X-Men and shit. I don't know, man. I'll drink that Conor juice again, and I'll get on board. I like the show. I'm all about the show, the kicks and fights, or the kicks and punch. Sometimes I wish they didn't fight. When a fight gets called off, I'm like, good, nobody gets dirtied up. like we both talk mad shit, but then the teacher showed up, so everybody still looks good.
They separated
You must have loved Khabib versus Ferguson.
We'd be going at it right now.
I'm still edging for Khabib and Ferguson because they're both still fucking alive. And the crazier and more desperate that Tony gets, the more likely it is that he like just goes to Dagestan at some point and like shows up and dojo challenges him. Like I saw Tony. I saw Tony he was, brother, come, let's have tea, brother. No fight. Like that's what would happen.
Probably would.
Have tea,
I saw the footage of Khabib retiring after he beat Gaethje, but it's in Tony Ferguson's household. It's his reaction to Khabib retiring, and he is so upset. He is distraught. He is cursing. He's covering his head, and he has to leave the room. It's like his dream just died. Like it really sucked. I feel so bad for that guy. That's one of those.
Wouldn't it be great if we lived in an alternative universe where Tony Ferguson continued on his 6 or 7 fight lose streak, calling for a title shot again and again? Like, what would it?
Someone needs to take that guy and get him out of his own way. Every time you guys talk about him, you're like, he's a really good fighter. And then 2 episodes later, it's like, he got his ass kicked again.
He's good. I think he was overrated. I think he was considered good for a long time.
12 in a row.
And that the Khabib getting hurt extended how long people thought he was good. Because he'd be scheduled to fight Khabib, and then they'd swap him out with a last-minute replacement, and he might beat that guy. And or the opposite happened. He's scheduled to fight Khabib, and then Ferguson pulls out, and Khabib fights some other guy. And usually the last-minute replacements are a downgrade from the big hype fight.
Sure.
So Khabib never lost, but Ferguson, his star shined longer than it would have had he been exposed.
He won 12 in a row against some pretty decent competition. I always say, if you look at Khabib's competition, it's a bunch of meat cans and who the fuck are yous. They like his latest run when he went like Michael Johnson. He's had like 2 or 3 wins, like total. Yeah. Like Conor, Poirier, Gaethje. After that, remember who he won the belt from?
Alacinta? I'm messing up his name.
Al Iaquinta. You know what he does for a living, Taylor?
So is he not a professional fighter? Oh, okay.
Well, in his free time, he mixes it up in the cage, but mostly you'd find him out in New Jersey.
Mostly you'll find him in New Jersey showing a nice duplex to a lovely young family.
To a lovely young couple. Yeah. That's how he won the belt.
But the thing is, he was the last minute replacement, like I described before. Who was he supposed to? Was it Ferguson who got hurt that fight?
I know that Holloway tried to step up from 145, but couldn't make the weight, which was wild. It's like, wow, what do you walk around at 145, King? But before that, it may have been Tony. But I know maybe Tony had the interim belt at that time. I think Tony had the interim belt, and then and then maybe they stripped Tony when he hurt himself, threw it on the floor, and made Alaquinta and Khabib fight for it. And Alaquinta was ranked 9th in the world. And then before that, it was like Michael Johnson was the guy that he like hauled over and threw on the floor and said, give me McGregor, give me belt. And he's screaming or whatever the fuck. But he really, if you go back to his early career, he beat a lot of people who were 0-1.
That's not really a good thing. So what happened was these guys were like experienced Sambo competitors, which is essentially MMA. And they're like, I'm making up numbers, but these guys are like 27-3 in Sambo, and then they're 1-0 in MMA. And people pretend that he fought cans who had never done an MMA
Those
fight
are
before.
Cans. You just defined it. Oh,
they're like K1 kickboxing champions coming over to MMA.
Who only compete.
They've never had a fight.
What is a can?
You're talking about cricket over there. You're like you don't understand, Kyle.
Fighter.
Okay.
He's a pro cricket player. It counts when you strike him out in the MLB. Like, no, it doesn't. He only competed in our sport once in his life. It was to lose to his coach's son or his coach's son's brother's friend, because they're all like incestuously fucking each other with left-handed handshakes over there in the Arab Soviet fucking tundra. I'm not buying it just because they're from a different sport. They came over to this sport one time and one time only to fight Khabib in his sport. He beat me. Shucks. I'm going to go back to Sambo.
How is Sambo different than MMA?
I mean, I don't know. I don't know how Sambo is different from MMA, but I know it is different from MMA.
It's not very different. I mean, it's pretty much the same thing. Fedor was a Sambo guy.
I don't see how any of that's relevant when we're talking about
basically Russian MMA, right? So this is like before he made it to the UFC. They're saying
no one looks at it this way, but you and Khabib.
That's not true. People who know. Before he went to the UFC,
threads about this.
He was like fighting these Sambo guys, and they're like, his wins are not legit. When you're undefeated, like, yeah, not everybody was Gaethje, but Gaethje was Gaethje, and Conor was Conor.
I counted those 3. He has 3 good wins in his career. Gaethje, Conor.
I'd have to look at his record to think of more good ones. I don't know.
Michael Johnson,
did he beat RDA?
Rafael dos Anjos. Yeah, he almost certainly did. Seems like everybody did, right?
Oh, poor Rafael. You're talking shit on him.
He was a champion.
He's a good
I think
guy.
Khabib got 3 good wins in, and then he retired. Which is a lot better than getting 6 good losses in and then not retiring.
That's true.
It's like RDA. Way better.
He beat Michael Johnson, who I guess was good at the time, but he was kind of the tail end of being good.
Yeah, you're 6 fights into getting your ass kicked. That you hate your job. He must need money because, my God, why else would you keep subjecting yourself to that? Just getting the shit kicked out of you over and over and over and over.
He thinks he can win. All he's ever done is that, and he won. Man, when you win 12 in a row, and keep in mind, I bet that 12 in a row took place over the course of 5 or 6 years, right?
I would think,
at the rate that they fight.
Maybe longer, because towards the end he got hurt.
Imagine going 5 or 6 years as a professional athlete, and you've never been defeated in your field, and not even that. It's not even. Well, he's been defeated, but you've those 6 in a row, 12 in a row. And he was fucking them up,
6
Taylor.
in a row.
He was fucking them up. There were memes right before he went on his losing skid. These are Tony Ferguson's last 5 opponents, and it's their faces after the fight. They look like car accident victims. They are big gashes and cuts and just contusions, eyes swollen shut and shit. And Tony's like got this famous thing where he's bouncing around with like blood running down his face and his tongue stuck out. Like, you don't want to fight that guy. It's scary.
So I have it in front of me. It's 6 years he went without losing, and he has 1 loss. If you discount that, it would be a 10-year streak. Jesus. That loss, Michael Johnson, the guy could be beat. That you don't count.
I don't count him. I don't count him. I count him as like a
Michael Johnson is the kind of name that would show up like on my NHL be a GM account when I've simmed it past existing players, and it's like Michael Johnson, born 2018, no profile picture, high elite prospect.
It's not that I think he was bad fire. I think he was like a mid-level guy.
There was how some sports will mic up players, not really like UFC, but like football, basketball, hockey. I don't know if basketball does it. That would be a good sport probably to mic up though. But apparently there was a NHL players agreement thing in 2005 when they first started miking up players sometimes just to be like, oh, you can get a little, we'll have to heavily edit it because they're fucking professional hockey players and they say a lot of no things. But
they say gamer words.
They say gamer words a lot. And there was an agreement in 2005 with like the players union that was like, okay, we'll allow players to wear mics, but in the event that something happens on the ice, like a penalty or there's a need for suspensions, that's inadmissible. You cannot use any of the audio you find to punish them.
Okay.
And this has never really been an issue before, but the Minnesota Wild middies team and the Winnipeg Jets were playing the other night, and the best player on the Minnesota Wild got injured by a bit of a dirty play by someone on the Winnipeg Jets. And for Kyle, you might not know it as much. When you get revenge on a team in hockey, it's not even always like, we got to get the guy who fucked up Kaprizov. They're like, we're fucking up someone on the Jets.
That's baseball too.
Okay, so it's kind of like that. And so
often a corresponding player. It's like, you hurt our good guy, we'll hurt your good guy.
Yeah, this time they were just looking for someone to fuck with and the player who was mic'd up that game, I guess the Wild didn't know because they probably would have picked someone else to attack if they had known this guy was mic'd up, because
victim was mic'd up.
The victim was mic'd up.
Okay.
And the victim was going to take a face-off against a Minnesota Wild player named Ryan Hartman. And Hartman's known for, pulling some skeevy stuff sometimes. Solid player, though. And according to the guy who got high-sticked, he's like, yeah, Hartman told me before the face-off, kind of politely, actually. He's like, I'm sorry, bud, but I got to do it. And then we went to go take the face-off, and I'll link you the thing right here. He accidentally, on purpose, the guy in green, obviously you can't show it, it's NHL clip, Zach, but the guy in green intentionally tries to make it look like an accident, but he smashes the guy in his teeth with his stick. And then, because the rule with high sticking in hockey, Kyle, is that right there, high sticking, you hit someone in the face, that's 2 minutes. If it draws blood, so you'll often see players like sticking, searching for blood. If it draws blood, that's 5 minutes. If you intentionally hit someone in the head with your stick, like on purpose, maliciously, that's like game misconduct, unsportsmanlike, like 10 minutes, very huge penalty. And so basically there was this little, brouhaha where they're like, hey, this guy intentionally smacked me in the head with his stick. That was not part of a face-off. It was not an accident. He did that to like kind of hurt me and take me out of the game a bit. What the fuck? Like, you can't just call a little penalty for that. But then the Players Association is now like, hey, just because we can hear on the mic Ryan Hartman say, I'm going to high stick you in the face or whatever, we cannot allow that as evidence that he did it on purpose. And so there will be no further review of his behavior. And I'm like, good. Yes, good. That's actually the way it should be. Otherwise, we're going to lose every bit of mic'd up content ever because no one will agree to have it on. Like, I watched it and I saw people getting a little... most people are like, yeah, it already is. Most people are laughing at this because in the world of hockey, this is such a minor thing. People get high stick.
Yeah, it's not that bad.
As hard as that on accident.
How big was the injury? Did you tell us that? How hurt was the guy?
Kirill Kaprizov, I think he just went out for the game. Like, I don't think it's a long.
He was out for the rest of the game, though. That's not.
Yeah.
Was it cut? Was it, as long as there's not like if he had a facial cut, that would sway me into like, I don't care what's record. Like, I don't care about the missing teeth. We like those are cheap to, as if you're a professional athlete to get popped right back. If the Winnipeg Jets, is it?
Yes.
If they don't have a rate at the local dentist office, then what are you doing? What are you doing?
There should be a team dentist in hockey.
They do. I think a lot of them do have team dentists. It didn't fuck up this guy's face, really. I think he had a little cut on his lip. He might have had to get a stitch or two, but like very, very much nothing.
Look, I'm not saying don't punish the guy. Look, we watched him do it. I don't need audio to know he did that on purpose. Yeah. I know that my hand wouldn't go that way, and I'm not, and I've never done that thing they're doing before ever.
We wouldn't accidentally go, "No!" Oh, that's not where the puck was. Fuck! I thought this was going to be the one time the puck was up here.
I thought it was in your mouth.
I don't need audio evidence of anything. Like,
in his mouth. Yeah, so I enjoyed that. I'm like, good. I'm glad how they handled that. That sucks. And I'll have to go back and check if Kaprizov was even out for the whole game, but he's the best player on their team by far. So of course they get real pissy when you go after him.
The victim was their best player?
The victim on the Wild initially. This guy is like a young player who's very early in his career. He was this guy is the Jet player who got high sticked was just wrong place, wrong time guy. It didn't matter who lined up against Hartman in that face-off. Hartman was going to hit them in the mouth.
When they hurt the guy in the beginning, this is the Wild player who's very good who got hurt. How dirty a play was that?
I'd have to rewatch it. Most of what I watched was like the actual high stick part. And like the fallout of it, but it would have been bigger news in the hockey world.
That matters to me too.
Like out for two months.
If I hit you with a very solid, honorable hip check and you got hurt, well, I mean, we're playing hockey.
Yeah, that's not even a penalty. Like that's that's just hockey,
right? But if I like slew foot you, well, then I can see why the team was upset.
Yeah, definitely true. But I don't think Kaprizov's going to be out for a long time, so that's good. But I'm glad they handled it that way. That's 100% the right move. You can't.
Do you remember the story you told us about? I'm going to mess his name up. Bedard's parents or mom in particular.
Oh, Connor Bedard's. Yeah, where that rumor where it was like they kicked Corey Perry off the team because Corey Perry was fucking his mom.
Yeah. Is that generally regarded as untrue now?
Yeah. Everyone like I think even Connor Bedard like made a statement about it where he's like, yeah, I don't know what any of this stuff is about. It didn't have anything to do, him being kicked off the team had nothing to do with me or my family or my friends. Like we had nothing to do with him being removed from the team. And Corey Perry came out and was like, I'm entering an alcohol substance program with the NHL Player Association. And I'm like, is that really what you're doing?
I'm addicted to people's moms.
Because I'm like, okay, Corey Perry, you're 38 years old and you still play in the NHL. Something tells me if you were like a wildly heavy boozer, you wouldn't still be in the NHL. So
I've been diagnosed as a motherfucker.
I think you're probably right, Kyle. Like if there is something, it would be painkillers, but it's just more socially acceptable, I guess, to be like, I'm going to an alcohol recovery place as opposed to like pills.
His knees are probably gone, right?
Yeah, and he's been in a lot of fights. He's one of those like there's this dude Ryan Kessler who used to play like a really hard form of hockey for many years for the Ducks and a couple other teams, and there have been like interviews with him now in his post life where he's like he almost says like I wish I could go back and like quit earlier. I have headaches all the time. It's hard for me to focus. Like I want to play with my kids. And, I may look like a fit guy, but my knees are destroyed. Like my hips are destroyed. My ankles are destroyed. Like I have the lower body of someone who's been through like 2 lifetimes. Like every bit of movement hurts.
Kamaru Usman is a fighter. I heard that he goes up steps backwards because it's less painful.
Oof.
Stairs.
Time to stop.
Wow.
He just fought, by the way.
Yeah, these guys are destroying their bodies. No wonder they have to do HGH and these things.
I on a sort of the opposite of that, Joe Lozon tore his ACL during his career, and I think it was him who told me he was like, it was actually kind of a good thing Like I had a thumb that had hurt me for 2 years in a row. Never got a chance to really heal because he never stopped grappling. I had an elbow that was a trick this. I had a shoulder. And then when I was forced to recover my torn ACL, brand new me, second half of my career.
That makes sense.
Yeah. When I did jits, I hate to compare myself to these real athletes. Dude, I went 3 years without turning my head. Like I would just do this. Like everywhere.
Like Batman.
3 years.
It was so bad.
Michael Keaton Batman, when he looks up, he has to go,
yeah. It was one guy in particular. And they like wiser version of yeah. Dude, this guy was way bigger and stronger than me, but less skilled. And he would do this move called a can opener. So he's in my guard, which is like I'm in back, the girl and missionary. And in fighting, that's not a great spot. But in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I have the advantage because he can't punch me. But what he can do is grab the back of my head and pull it forward to just like crush it forward. And it's just a pain move that you can just choose not to tap to if you just overlook the pain. But it's also a fucking injury move. So I would never let him win that way. But then, for 3 years, I can't turn my head.
How often were you like having to turn like this at your desk at Cisco and just have a thought of like, what am I doing? Like, is this worth it?
I was like proud of myself almost. Like, I'm not like these other IT professionals at Cisco. I train at night. But
you needed one of those Indian guys to put some holy magic on that back of yours, get some of those suction cups or something. You ever see? I wonder if that works. I see athletes with those gross bruises. You're talking about he can't hit you when he's in your guard. I can't remember what it's called. Maybe combat jujitsu. There's a jujitsu where there's palm strikes, and I heard Rogan and somebody else talking about this. He's like, yeah, it turns out a lot of that jujitsu stuff doesn't work when you can hit people in the face. Because you're not gonna have time to manipulate my wrist if I can just go bang, 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 bang. He's like, very quickly you become dizzy.
So this idea of a guard, Taylor, if you're on top of me and I either have my legs wrapped around you, right, like a chick, or like my knees on your belly, like you'd rather be closer to me, but I'm controlling your distance from me by having my knees on your belly. You haven't passed my guard. Passing my guard is a big deal in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. You really can't submit me until you get control. It's hard to do it from my guard. Okay. We're doing all these guard passes, studying it, and my instructor is an MMA fighter. Like he was actually good. And he's like, yeah, but in MMA, like just punch him in the face. They'll let you right by. Like it's the best guard pass there is. All this shit we're learning is because there's no strikes. If you hit this guy in the nose, he's not going to be like, whatever. Yeah. Doing this.
Fuck, get off me. Like, it's
there's a lot of things that work in what they call sport jiu-jitsu that don't work in fighting at all.
Yeah. You're going to forget where to put your hips after you're concussed, buddy. Promise you. But not that jiu-jitsu doesn't work. Cause I feel like there's a lot of people who say, just stand up. Derek Lewis was so funny. Derek's like, jiu-jitsu ain't real. You just stand up. And he stood up. The guy's all over him. And he just goes, fuck all this. And he stands up, takes like 2 steps away and turns around. And he's like, maybe jiu-jitsu just isn't real for Derek Lewis.
You saw that in like that little promotional like just a little sparring pretend thing between Conor McGregor and the Mountain. Yeah. Where like, the Mountain's like probably like, oh, Conor, I am such a big fan of yours and all that. But you watched him and it was like the Mountain couldn't not look like he was a man playing with a child, where like Conor would come in and be like, bah, 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 like showing how fast he could go. And the Mountain's like, oh, ho, ho, you silly boy, like push him back. Got his hand is the size of Conor's like upper chest.
I think the Mountain wins that fight.
100%.
What do you think?
Like size matters.
I think that if Conor McGregor came in with baby oil, then he wins the fight. Because while I do think at some point the Mountain would grab Conor, I think he could get away still. What he's got to do is get him and like, get him. He needs to bear hug him and be able to mush him. But like, he doesn't know how to throw a punch, a kick. He doesn't know anything about combat. We saw in that if Conor could get him to engage with him the way that the fictional fight down with the Red Viper of Dorne and all in the fucking Game of Thrones. If he could actually get him to tucker himself out, if the Mountain did anything other than stand there and say, "As soon as you get close, I'm gonna grab you, bitch. Come on, yeah, tap me in my gut. You know how many fucking sit-ups I do? Like come on, hit me again. Yeah, come on. Like if but if he's always reaching and lurching and chasing Connor around, I think Connor could tire him out enough, and kick his legs enough to put him down. But
dude, it'd be like trying to fight a cave troll. If he gets one hand on you, one mitt, like
I don't think so. I think he's got to get him.
Connor can't. If wrist control, if you like
wrist control,
wrist control is very important in wrestling. I remember that from my 2 years of middle school experience, and like me as a middle schooler, if I would grab another middle schooler like on my level and have wrist control, like that's huge. I can drag down and direct them where I want to go towards the mat. If Connor gets his wrist grabbed by the Mountain, like remember also the Mountain's like sometimes runner up, and he has one strongest man in the world before. Like he's going to pull Connor's arm out of his socket if he wants to.
No, I don't think he pulls it out of his socket because I think Connor's body moves with it. But
no, his body will move with it. But
I do kind of agree. Like if the Mountain gets your wrist, it's not like me getting your wrist. It's a very different thing. I base it. The reason I said it is because I don't know if it was on the show or if it was in private. But Joe Lozon, we asked him if he could beat Shaquille O'Neal. Yeah, he says no, he couldn't beat Shaq. Yeah, and it's like, well, if Joe can't beat Shaq, then Connor can't beat the Mountain, who's probably beat Shaq.
Yeah, probably just because. I would pick a strong man over a basketball player when they're both 7 feet tall.
I don't fucking know. Like Shaq was a real athlete, like not just a powerful man and a giant man. Shaq was like the highest caliber, like all of his special traits.
Shaq has only ever competed against people weaker than him.
It's not like that's not his fault. So has the Mountain.
No. It's sometimes the Mountain would lose to that even somehow bigger guy, Brian Shaw. That's such
he'd have to tucker himself out. And like you said, if he ever grabbed Connor in a way that Connor didn't immediately like, give me my hand back and like pull it out of his grasp, then that's the end of the fight, right? Because he just like falls on top of Connor and like crumples him up to this ball underneath him that he pushes on.
I picture fighting the Mountain the way like it is to like fight enemies in Star Fox, where like I just have to keep distance until his head starts blinking, and then I have to like get damage in while he's vulnerable, or maybe he would have to bend over for you, let you get in with like a. Actually, you're right. No, you couldn't punch him in the stomach hard enough to hurt him.
Yeah,
he didn't even drive to the event. He dragged a Civic there.
I don't have a strategy that lets me beat the Mountain.
That's why I like
any ideas. I don't even think I could beat him in a foot race. I think I'm just fucked. I know charisma. I'm going to try to convince him not to beat me. That's my move.
You have to hope he's just like one of those natural gentle giants where he's like, I don't like conflict because it would end with me in prison. No one's picking the other guy or my side if there's like a brawl.
I'll beat him in a court of law.
It's like those,
posthumous. Is that posthumous? That's
posthumously. Yeah. Man, that sucks that college football's done. I was just starting to have fun watching it.
It's all over now. Well, the NFL playoffs are just kicking off, right? Like, isn't it almost time for that to begin?
The Eagles. If these numbers aren't right, they're close. They started like 10-1, and they're like 11-5 now.
Really? Dude, as long as they get into the playoffs, it doesn't matter.
They are going to make the playoffs, but when I think those numbers are close. Yeah, it doesn't. It's hard to get excited.
That sucks.
I'd say we do a bracket for the show tomorrow night. I already know half my bracket, of course, as I am predicting Eagles Chiefs Super Bowl with the Chiefs winning it. Because you got to get Taylor Swift there for the Super Bowl. You got to squeeze all that money.
Conspiracy angle.
Yeah, I'm working. And I'm not saying that it's like the fix is 100% in. I just think that everything is going to lean that way for them. So like if there's a call that's a 50-50 call, did he make it? Is that a catch or not? We usually just, what do you think? Like those are going to go the Chiefs' ways and the Eagles' ways every single time. I think that the commish is going to come down and be like, Chiefs and Eagles, that's got a ring to it, doesn't it, boys? got kind of a ring to it.
Kind of a ring to it. Two very popular teams with huge fan bases. Sounds perfect. Yeah. That would be good. I saw this I couldn't find the actual tweet, but have you ever seen the way this fucking dude on the Chiefs runs? Their running back Pacheco. Like I saw someone joke and they're like, this dude runs like he's a 5-year-old testing out his new shoes at the shoe store.
Oh my gosh.
That's so cool.
He runs like a fucking
bam, 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 bam. Dude, that man is making some power right there.
He is making a lot of power.
The reason that doesn't look right to us is because we don't even understand the athleticism required.
I saw people like other like professional football commentators being like, I mean, he's already quick, but is there a way to transfer some of that angry downward energy into the ground into more forward energy? Because he hits the ground like I was laughing
like
out loud.
He's mad at the grass.
That. Yeah, I was like, he's running like a 5-year-old testing out his shoes at the shoe store.
I like it.
It's like a meme every time. That's how he always runs. Isaiah Pacheco. He's one of the running backs for the Chiefs.
I'm a fan now.
Yeah, I like him.
Look at this tweet. You know, Pacheco is way too aggressive with the video game controller. The type of friend who fucks up the buttons and forces you to give him the off-brand controller no one messes with.
Dude, I haven't watched that much of the Chiefs, but every single game I watch, half of it is Patrick Mahomes just like and it'll show a replay of like a pass like hitting someone in the diamond of their hand and then just like dropping it. Like there was a clip of him on the sidelines where he's like he wasn't mic'd up or anything, but you could like see him mouthing like, what the fuck else can I do? like the ball's going where I'm putting it every time and they can't fucking catch it.
None of the receivers are leading the team in receptions.
Yeah, no. Apparently, that's the Chiefs' problem is they have the best quarterback and nobody can catch the ball, which has got to be that's a little bit of a Dante's Inferno punishment for a good quarterback. Oh, we're gonna put you on a good quarterback with a great team, everything but receivers, everything but that. Yeah, but if the Chiefs don't win the Super Bowl, then I don't even care. Then it doesn't even matter to me. But if they do, then I'm a huge Chiefs fan now.
Do they?
They're going to win.
Kansas? They play in Kansas, right?
No, they play in Missouri. Yeah,
it's confusing for regular people.
It is.
The both Kansas City Chiefs. It's right in the name.
It is. Yeah, and Kansas tries to claim it, but they just have a little slice of Kansas City, which is, in fairness, Overland Park, which is like the nicest part of Kansas City. Kansas doesn't have any
sports teams.
You're right. Yeah, because the Kansas City Chiefs are Missouri, so I don't think they have any teams. Oh. No, they play in Missouri as well. We have 2 baseball teams, a football team, a hockey team, and no basketball teams. Which that's okay. I don't think. Do you guys have basketball teams? Yeah, the Atlanta Hawks. Are they good?
They're
in a tough spot.
They are usually not. And I know that Atlanta does not have a baseball team anymore. You refuse to recognize them.
They do not have a baseball team.
They're in that spot. You know how, like, as a sports team, if you absolutely suck, you get the best draft picks and there's some excitement and some hope. Mm-hmm. And if you're good, that's obviously cool too.
Yeah.
The Hawks, they're just in that spot where they're like going to lose in the first round and not do anything cool.
They're like the Blues this year.
I genuinely like. Sometimes I do it to troll the fans, like that I hate basketball. But man, every time I actually try to give it a chance. Did you see the meme the other day? And it was like, why people hate in the NBA. And first they have a regular white guy do this silly move, like in a private basketball court. And you're like, dude, what are you doing? Do you even know how to play the game? And then they show an NBA broadcast of a player doing it exactly the way the white guy just did it. And not getting called. And it's huge traveling calls. It's many steps, 3, 4, 5 steps after. Holding the ball, spinning, like doing a full 360 with your feet sort of wobbling around and taking little short steps constantly, like moving the ball the whole time and then throwing it. And I can't. I can't. Either if you don't call that, then you create a game that visually to me looks like nonsense. It looks like, remember how they had I don't know if they still do this, but they had Madden, which was real football game.
Yeah.
And then they had NFL
Hits.
Blitz.
NFL Blitz. Yeah. Yes.
And it was like street ball with silly players and maybe Mike Tyson played on one of the teams and you'd smash people's faces into trash cans and shit. And it's like, this is fun, but it's not football. We all agree on that, right? That's what I think every time I watch the NBA. It's like, yeah, this is fun, man, but this isn't really the game that
I hear you, but you can't go too deep on a Twitter post where they take like the worst calls in the last 7 years and make a montage out of them and say that's what basketball is. If you were to do that with hockey or football, you could also act like I bet there's dives in hockey that just look ridiculous. And if I got all the worst dives in hockey for the last 10 years, I could make it look like it was soccer. It's not, but I could fool.
That's true. But like if you did make a compilation of the worst NHL dives, every single one of them would be a call. Some of them would be fines. Like it's rare that they get away with a big dive in the NHL. Hockey's much better at that than.
I don't even mind that if you're talking about faking like a hit and like pretending like you're hurt, is that to get draw?
Like spelling it.
Or let's say that like I lift my stick and you pretend I hit you with it to draw a penalty.
And the NHL will call you if Kyle, I hit you and the ref thinks that you fell too hard and you kind of threw yourself into the boards. They'll be like, Taylor, 2 minutes for roughing. Kyle, 2 minutes for embellishment. Like they'll just tell you, and it's I got hit. Well, see, but you fell harder than you have to, bud.
The problems are on offense and defense in the NBA. I feel because not only you let these guys run around and travel constantly and do stuff that's clearly like against the rules if we're playing Pee Wee basketball, but then on the other side, like you don't. I feel like they call too many fouls sometimes. Like they should call every foul. There should be no Did you touch him? I mean, I brushed him. Foul. He shoots now. Stop touching him. Touch him again. Like that's your third touch.
So they got to get less strict on that or more strict on the dribble stuff.
I would love it if it's just they got 5 white guys out there playing because the black guys couldn't keep their hands to themselves. And you know what? All of a sudden, and you know what? All of a sudden, look at that. The white guys don't travel as much.
So what happens is this, right?
Dribbling from the top of the ball.
Let's say, Kyle, you're just farther than the foul line and you've got the ball in 2 of your hands, right? And you're sort of deciding whether you're going to pass it or shoot it. I reach in, right? Like I want to smack the ball away. Your move is called a rip through. You lift your arm up so that your arm hits mine and draw the foul. It's they call it sometimes getting your
rip through.
Your hand caught in the cookie jar, right? So now you've drawn a foul. You get a foul shot. It's a really smart play on your behalf, but it's terrible to watch.
Yeah.
But you get so I would let you get the shot, but I didn't like the way you did that rip through thing to like make it a foul. So I'm going to give them the ball after.
That's what happens anyway, right? You get your 2 foul shots and then you lose possession.
I'll let them shoot too.
I would say no. That was
terrible.
That was
what
baiting.
If they had a shoot off?
Yeah. I would rather them say, no, Kyle, you touched Woody on purpose. We don't count those fouls. Like you initiated the contact. That was a non-basketball move.
I like what I don't know what the verbiage would be, but being like, you baited him. You put yourself in the position to be hit. He didn't hit you.
Like contact, right?
You can't,
you instigated the contact.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
If I'm running and you jump in front of me, but then what do we do about a screen?
So the screens, you have to be set, right? So you need to stay still. I don't know how long it is. It's not very long, but you need to be still for like an entire second. And then I run next to you. And that's what a screen is. A moving screen is a penalty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll
tell you what I don't like to see. Whenever I turn the TV on, I try to get into it and like the things that turn me off from the game. I'll see lots of crazy celebration over things that seem very commonplace. Like it's like, why don't we all calm down and try to like.
Oh, did you get 2 points for the 45th time this game?
Yeah.
I mean, calm down. It's like we're shooting an and one video out here. And except there aren't as many white people. And that whenever someone's like charging into to the basket and they're just running everybody. First of all, the move is to have the ball right like this and your elbows flared, and then to just eat shit with both elbows as you take these big shoulder rolling strides through everything and everyone who wants some. Because by the way, we're 246.6 LeBron, and then you just jump up and anybody in your way, they catch elbows, knees, hips, whatever. We're 246.6. Eat it. And I'm just like, you fouled 4 people and there's only 5 on the other team. Is what it looks like to me. Like I want them to blow the whistle. I want it to be like the NFL where they come out and explain it too. I'd love it if a guy came out and he said, ruling on the court is number 24 traveled through 1, 2, 3 players, fouling all 3 of them. That's 3 fouls. That'll be 6 shots. And then I want him to add it up and explain.
Unfortunately, that means you need to sit there for 3 throws at the dunk tank. I'm
tired of
Now, Taylor's got some innovation ideas.
Ooh, I'm sorry. You have to wear clown shoes the remainder of the quarter. Those are the rules. Those are the rules. I'm sorry. I don't make the rules. And
Imagine if like you shoot foul shots and I sit on the dunk tank, and if you make them both, I go in and I play wet for the rest of the game.
Fans are furious after the NBA is acquired in its entirety by the Wonka Corporation, resulting in drastic changes to the rules that had already set the fans on tilt.
What Kyle mentioned, like what happens inside like the paint, the rules are complicated and I can't defend them or even explain them. Like what, there's a 3-second violation. It's a charge if you've stood still. It's not a charge if you're moving. And like I hear whistles blow in basketball, and half the time I don't know who. I just wait to see who got the call. I don't know if that was offense or defense. I'm very confused.
I just wish that they would call everything consistently. And baseball, like I really wish they'd get that fat fucker out from behind the plate. What are you doing there, old man? I wish somebody. I hate
computer mode.
The ump.
Yes, umpires are awful people.
Just use a computer.
Like
right?
You could tell that I saw one where what happened? The ump was like, catchers go through a lot of balls. Ball hits the dirt. Time for a new ball. He reaches his glove out for the ball. Umpire goes to throw the ball in the glove. Catcher isn't looking. He's got a mask on and everything, and he moves his hand as the ball is coming. The umpire thinks that he did that too slow.
Yeah,
kind of move to him and throws him out of the fucking game. Like they're just little dictators behind that fucking plate. They're pieces of shit. And half the time they're wrong when it comes to like the things that matter. Not half the time.
Yeah, if there is a game that you could just have like drones judging it, like with a remote viewer or just a computer gauging the box, like it's baseball.
They've got a few different ways they do it and can do it. And there's a lot of proposals. It's usually a hybrid where you've got a system that's giving exact balls and strikes, but with an umpire there to kind of keep things moving along and I think there'd be challenges the kind of the way they are in the NFL. Challenging plays.
Yeah.
What is this I'm looking at, Zach?
This is Angel Hernandez, who's a umpire, the guy behind the plate. His accuracy,
86% is lower than I expected.
They're showing balls that he called strikes, the strikes he calls balls. They're showing that overall he gave favor to. I think they're saying that added a quarter of a run to LA.
Yeah,
statistically somehow.
In tennis,
I don't know how that works.
It's really the replay. I think the system's called
runners
Hawkeye.
made base or something.
And really, it's the computers that judge the game, whether it was in or out. And the ref does a lot less than they used to.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
well, hopefully that continues.
Fuck it. Yep. The worst part of every sport is the refs, whether they're not doing their job or doing too much of their job. It always is. That and judges. I hate judging.
I was gonna say, yeah, I'm gonna include that to judges. I'm not gonna be like in MMA, it's judges that are bad, but
like it's one. Yeah. It sucks that they didn't put Georgia in because I really do feel like they made a mistake. That Georgia's one of the best 4 teams in the country at least, and then they should figure out where it goes from there. But sometimes you'll watch a goddamn fight, and the judges will just be like, "Yeah, fuck all that shit you just saw. We like it. This we live in a different reality." And you're like, and everybody goes, well, the judges decided tonight they're in a different reality, so we're just gonna go with it. Everyone gets paid based on their reality. Yeah, we all saw it go the way it went, but who cares? Why is no one walking over and like grabbing these guys up by the collar and like fingers in their face? And then the cameraman shouldn't look away.
Someone probably already did that, and that's why they're
really giving Don Hammer the business over there at the judging booth. Look at him. That's right, John Wayne. They are. like they should make a big deal. There should be criminal proceedings. There should be grand jury testimony. And I'm not even joking. There's millions and hundreds of millions of dollars moving around.
Sometimes it's bad enough. Like whatever. If some guy calls a travel wrong, dude, it's complicated. Was his hand on the side of the ball, the top of the ball? Like you're gonna get calls wrong. But on that MMA stuff, sometimes it seems crooked. It's so wrong. It's hard to justify how they landed on that. So. I
want to live in a world where you could sue the judge as a fighter, take him to civil court, and the judge watches the fight. The real judge, in the court of law, watches the fight in the courtroom, and then you call expert testimony. You have Max Holloway come up, and he's like, well, Your Honor, I fought this amount of times, and Khabib comes up. I never lose fight. I tell you, this was not loss. This was not lost either. I never lose. I'm telling you, this was not lost. Like just it would be beautiful. And then like, well, you're criminally negligent here. We're not put him in jail. I'd love that. I'd love to see an MMA judge go to jail.
Yeah,
I really want financial restitution is what I want, and I want their records to be set straight because it's forever. And you know, it's not your team. The Blue Jays didn't
John
lose
Jones
one.
When you say that, is that what's in your mind?
No,
Okay.
but I mean, he's a good example of they should just fix that. But I'm talking about like Piotr Jan. You know,
You felt like he won the first one.
I know he won that first.
Oh
one.
no, that was the one. Isn't he the one where he got DQ'd for kneeing a down opponent?
Yeah, but he also like who was it? He fought Sean O'Malley, I think, and I thought that he won and not Sean.
Okay.
I think that was. I could be wrong about it. Maybe it wasn't Sean.
That sounds right to me, but I'm not sure either. But yeah. So you're not talking about the DQ. You're talking about a different fight.
No. He deserved.
He was guilty of the DQ.
He did it.
Yeah.
Well, what are you gonna do there?
Sometimes it seems like the punishment doesn't fit the crime, but it's not like they decided the punishment there on the spot. Those are the rules. He broke the rules and they applied them appropriately. I just think maybe a no contest would have been more fitting, but that's me.
Well, I've enjoyed it thoroughly, gentlemen.
Of course.
2024, here we come.
Yeah, here we are. All right. PKN 489.